US dominance within technology and everything? Because that obviously is another very compelling question. Like, there's a lot that we don't know about Chinese development of artificial intelligence and a lot of different companies over in China, and ensuring that, similar to the Chinese government, our government is encouraging and subsidizing as much domestic development of artificial intelligence and technology as possible. That will be important to maintaining dominance or gaining back dominance within artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. And I think a big focus that I'd like to kind of place on these Chinese models is the big emphasis on being open source. I think that's only going to continue to be an advantage for them. And also, it also kind of allows us American consumers to have a little more access into the inner workings of these models themselves. Like you see Quen, you see DeepSeek, kind of these open source models be used in internal applications for all sorts of kind of apps. And I think that open source is kind of the future of AI. I think that very useful.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, back in my industrial organization class, we had actually spoken a lot about how IBM they pivoted away from the ThinkPad, and they had sold off the ThinkPad to Lenovo, and instead opted to kind of push more towards data centers, enterprise solutions, and open source cloud computing. And so back in the early 2010s, after the failure of IBM Watson and stuff like that, they had deemed, all right, let's kind of disintegrate away from hardware and instead into some company named Red Hat, actually, which has been working on developing enterprise solutions and cloud computing with Linux, actually, ever since the release of Linux in about like 1998, 1999. And so they had seen, kind of IBM had seen at the turn of the 2010s, kind of the value and the immense power that goes into using and taking advantage of an open source model, because essentially, like, to a company like IBM, they can see something like Linux, something like cloud computing and enterprise solutions as an opportunity to capitalize off essentially free labor from other people. And that is huge in terms of them staying technologically up to date, having so many contributors, having so many people cross verifying all of the new features that they push. It kind of signaled even then a wider overarching technological trend towards open source technology and open source programming, because that is essentially a huge differentiation and competitive advantage for the companies that do take advantage of these open source technologies, because they're just able, especially in something like AI, which we've established is moving and progressing so quickly, being able to take advantage of those open source technologies will certainly give these companies legs up.